Chapter 15, Amendments Altering the Presidency. Article 2 of the Constitution deals with the executive branch. There have been 5 occasions where amendments have modified the executive branch of the federal government. The method of electing a president, date the president takes office, term limits for the president, change in the number of electors for the president, and the succession to the office of the president. The 12th Amendment, which was ratified in 1804, says, quote, the electors shall meet in their respective states and vote by ballot for president and vice president, one of whom least shall not be an inhabitant of the same state with themselves, and shall name in their ballots the person voted for as president, and district ballots the person voted for as vice president, and they shall make distinct lists of all persons voted for as president and of all persons voted for as vice president, and the number of votes for each, which list they shall sign and certify and transmit, sealed to the seat of the government of the United States, directed to the President of the Senate. The Electoral College is the group of people who actually elect the president. When we vote for the electors. We don't actually vote for the person running for the president. We vote for the group of people who will vote for the president, which is the Electoral College. The original Constitution provided that each state appoint electors equal to the numbers of House and Senate members in their state. For example, Ohio has 16 members in the House and 2 Senate members, so Ohio would have 18 electoral votes. Originally, the electors would vote for 2 people. The candidate who received the most votes would become president, and the runner-up, vice president, meaning that the president and vice president could be of differing parties, making it very difficult for government to run. The 12th Amendment changed the way the Electoral College chooses president and vice president. Each party nominates their candidate for president and vice president. The 12th also states that the president and vice president should not be from the same state. Each member of the Electoral College must pick a president and vice president on his or her ballot. The 12th also deals with how the president and vice president are to be selected if neither candidate gets a majority of the electoral votes. The House of Representatives would then select the new president by a vote by state, not by the number of their representatives. The amendment expands the eligibility to become president. You have to be a natural-born citizen in the United States, 35 years old, and reside in the U.S. for at least 14 years. The 20th Amendment, which was ratified in 1933, is also known as the Lame Duck Amendment. Lame duck president refers to a president who has lost re-election, decided not to run for re-election, or exhausted his or her term limits. They are labeled lame duck because they have less power than they did at the beginning of their term. Article 2 of the Constitution set a 4-year term for president and vice president. March 4th was initially the selected date for when the new president and Congress would take office. The 20th Amendment set the date at the beginning and ending terms to January 20th, seeking to put an end to the lame duck presidents. In 1932, dealing with the Great Depression, FDR had been elected president. However, President Hoover remained in the White House but did nothing to deal with the crisis of the Great Depression. FDR was not yet in office to help take action. The new date would allow for a quicker transition for the new president and legislatures. The 22nd Amendment, which was established in 1951, is the Term Limit Amendment, or 2 terms. George Washington served 2 terms in office. Washington's decision to serve only 2 terms of 4 years became the tradition that 2 terms of 4 years was enough for any president. This tradition lasted until FDR in 1940. FDR was elected to 4 terms, and a few months into his 4th term, President Roosevelt died. Republicans in Congress supported the passage of the 22nd Amendment, which would limit the presidents to 2 full terms of office. It is possible for a president to serve as many as 10 years if a vice president takes over for president and serves 2 years or less of the former president's term. The new president can serve for 2 full 4-year terms. 23 deals with Washington, D.C. The District of Columbia became the nation's official seat of government in 1800 when it was established as a federal territory. The D.C. lacked local government and was not given the right to vote in federal elections. The 23rd Amendment treated D.C. as if it were a state for purposes of voting in Electoral College. Congress continues to set D.C.'s form of government, but the residents of D.C. can vote for president. The 25th Amendment establishes the line of succession for a president. If the president dies in office, it is the vice president who takes over the position of the president. This was never clearly spelled out in the original Constitution. The 25th Amendment clarifies what happens upon death, removal, or resignation of the president or vice president. It also deals with how the office of president is to be filled if the president becomes incapacitated and cannot fulfill his or her responsibilities. The 25th Amendment was caused by the assassination of former President John F. Kennedy.